So it's about building resilient systems and also building resilient, let's say, connectors for for slides. Okay, perfect. So I'm really glad to be there with Naresh because the story of apidays India is kind of special. We were doing this apidays conferences series, and we rely on the local organizers, right? We rely on local people who are already building communities. And Naresh has been doing Agile India for like 20 years?
25.
25 years, oh my God. So for 25 years, and when you reached us, you said, look, I've been doing conferences, I'm into APIs right now, how we can bring the brand in India. I said, okay, this is a dream we wanted to have. We did remotely, but now it was time to be there. So thank you very much for that, and Naresh, you will be able to say some words. But the first thing I wanted to say is that why we've built apidays conferences. So it was 13 years ago. It was just a meetup. It was just an API Craft Google group. Does someone remember this group, API Craft Google group? No? At least, it was an online group with a lot of API people who never met, right? And I was like 27 at the time, and I said, okay, let's meet, guys. Let's meet. So actually, the first apidays was just a meetup of a Google group online of people who were following each other on Twitter, but who never met, right? So that was the goal. And actually, it was just fun to be together, right? And we tried to keep that fun over the long time. And so the goal really is to, behind the scenes of APIs, we build interfaces. The goal is to connect the humans behind APIs, right? So that's really the goal. So networking is an important aspect. We'll have content. So what I will ask you to warm up the day is to already connect with people. So I will ask you to talk to your left neighbor and the right neighbor, right? And begin to do some introductions. Can we do that? Yeah? Okay, let's take for 30 seconds and let's talk to left neighbor and right neighbor. I know some of you are colleagues, so talk in other people. So apidays is for networking, and so you already, I hope, make 2 mindful connections. I see some people from the same company, like I see some NatWest shirts, they're close to each other, so I hope you will make a connection with other people. So apidays is a series of events. So we grew a little bit, from one event to many events. Like now we have approximately 10 events per year. Some of them are completely organized by us, like the apidays full team. Some rely on local organizers, so we have a kind of loose governance model, right, where we share. So if you know people who want to organize conferences in their own country, please tell us. We would love to help them to accomplish that. And I also want to share some numbers. So it's about 80 events of the last 13 years, right? It was few at the beginning and then more and more. And so to represent approximately a community of 300,000 practitioners. Attendees, people who downloaded our reports, people who read our news, so that's a big community, and thank you for being part of this community, definitely, thank you there. 3 initiatives I want to talk about before I hand to Naresh. The first one is the API industry landscape. So with Mark Boyd, a journalist in the API space, we tried to gather all the tools, open source, or closed source, but all the tools, all the product of the API management space, right? So it goes to cloud native at some parts. Now we will need to update it to more Gen AI, API for Gen AI tooling. But for now, it's approximately 2,500 tools that we've gathered in a specific taxonomy. Like every landscape, every time we publish it, it's obsolete, right, from day one. But we try to keep it alive. So if you see your tool or your product there, and you need some updates, we have an API for that. You can send some data to update. But yeah, so it's also there for tech decision makers to discover tooling. I'm looking for good API documentation solutions. Oh yeah, they're all there, right? So that's a help for to navigate in the landscape, right? And you can go on the API landscape on the website directly for that. The second initiative I want to talk about is the Women in API initiative. Everywhere in the world, we don't have enough female engineers who speak on stage or who are represented. So if you know female engineers, and we have a strong female engineers, API engineers community in India, right? But if you know more, we would love to onboard them in the community, help them to get on stage and to represent more female in the community. Especially tomorrow, Naresh will talk about it, but we'll have a breakfast, a Women API breakfast inside the conference. Last but not least, an initiative that really is important for us is API Masters. So we do one conference per year per country. That leaves 364 days where people need to still learn about APIs, elevate their API literacy. So we tried to gather some speakers and to give sometimes free, sometimes paid classes online on API Masters so you can elevate your API literacy on design, on documentation, on security, on whatever topics are important, management, asynchronous API, whatever. So you don't hesitate to go on apimasters.io and take some classes, get certified. So that will help you to get paid higher in the API industry. So, as I said, apidays is a global organization. We are kind of the control plane of many local events. But apidays India would not have been possible without the involvement, the envy, the professionalism of Naresh Jain. So I'll let Naresh now really introduce apidays India, what he has crafted for you for the next 2 days. Thank you very much. Enjoy apidays India. Thank you.
Thank you, Mehdi. All right, API Days India. It's quite special. I think we've been talking about India leading probably the largest kind of a digital transformation around the world. And there is so much stuff happening that often when I go to international conferences that talk about it, most people have no clue what's going on over here, right? Some of the numbers when we talk, they're like, this is entire Europe doesn't have this kind of numbers, what we probably do, in a day, right? Like, so that's where we came up with the theme that, while we are going through this massive transformation and we're trying to build a digital society for billions of people in India, how do we future-proof, right? Like the text that we're building, the APIs that we're building, and how do we, create a digital economy, right? Which is which basically brings power to everyone, right? And so that was kind of the theme, and obviously resiliency and Sam's keynote this morning, of course, was a great start because a lot has to do with resiliency. We're going to also have a session later where we'll talk about some of the innovations that have happened in India from a resiliency point of view, and they're kind of, in my opinion, quite interesting, right? So it's a great platform for us to share what's going on in India to the rest of the world, right? So that's kind of like at least my personal objective behind putting this conference together. Let's talk a little bit about numbers. I always like to have numbers and transparency. So again, this kind of, when we first spoke about it, we said maybe we should limit it to a 300 people conference because we don't want a very big conference. We want people to feel, kind of nice and cozy and comfortable, and they can kind of speak, like share their ideas. But we got like an amazing response, and we ended up with over 800 people from 10 different countries coming and attending this conference. So that's great. We actually had people from a bunch of different places reaching out saying, hey, we see a great program. We would like to come and attend the conference. So that's always great. Of course, that won't be possible without the amazing 38 speakers that we have from 9 different countries who have traveled here to speak at the conference. I know Mehdi had a long flight here. But again, thanks to all the speakers who've come all the way and are going to be presenting at the conference. So thanks again for them. We have some interesting highlights in the agenda. So we obviously finished Sam's keynote. There is an industry panel that's going to happen end of today. And then just to relax at the end of the day, we're going to do some live synthesizer music. If you're into that, it's going to be open for everyone. And tomorrow we have Clara's keynote, and Mehdi is also going to do a keynote, and then we're going to close the conference at the end of the day. So that's kind of quickly, we're going to have, after this is over, we're going to take a quick coffee break, and we're going to split the halls, and we're going to now go into 4 parallel tracks, right? So right now it's all one. So after this, we're going to go into 4 parallel tracks. So think of this as track 1. There'll be a divider that will come over here when you guys leave and get your coffee. So these halls will get split into 2. This will be track 1, which is Grand Ballroom 2, or track 1. That would be track number 2, right? That is the Grand Ballroom 1. It's funny naming because we always get confused. We think this is 1 and that is 2, but this is 2 and that is 1. So track 1, track 2, and then if you just go around the corners either ways, you will see 2 halls over there called a square hall. So that side is track number 3, and this one would be track number 4, right? So those are the 4 tracks that we have. And here's just a quick scan. I'm sure everyone's looked at the agenda and why you're here. But that's kind of, how we've laid out for the 4 tracks today. So here, I think a lot of focus is on the architecture and design and things like that. Track 2, we have quite a bit of stuff on the resiliency testing and things like that. Track 3 is asynchronous, which is obviously very important, again, when we talk about this thing. And track 4, we have some workshops, which are deep dive sessions where you can get more detailed insights, right? And of course, tomorrow we will condense it to 3 tracks instead of 4 tracks, right? But I always tell people that I lie. They're not just 4 tracks, right? There are 5 tracks. You know where is the 5th and the most interesting track? In the hallways, right? I find like that's the best place to hang out at the conference. No disrespect to any of the speakers. I think they're amazing. But I always find, talking to other people and sharing, notes in the hallway is quite enlightening, right? So use that opportunity to, meet as many people as possible, right? There is on the phone app, there is a way to rate the sessions that would help us understand what was received well, what was perceived from the session. So once the session is over, please do rate the sessions. That would be really helpful for us. There is a way for you to asynchronously connect to people. So there is, in the app, you would be able to see Mingle. That's where you'd be able to send messages to other attendees of the conference. And it's always a good way. Like you might know someone's coming at the conference, but you may not see them. So just, you could message that. For those of you who have been at other conferences that we organize, this is something we always take pride in talking about. So how many of you, quick show of hands, are familiar with the law of 2 feet? Okay, not many. So the law of 2 feet is basically, you're investing 2 days of your life here, right? It's very important. And what we want to make sure is you make the most out of it. I'm sure that's what you want, right? How do you do that? You can look at the session, you can look at the description, you can go into the session, and then you might think, oh, no, this is not what I wanted, right? It happens. And then you might be sitting there and looking for a feedback form to fill in, saying, oh, this was not great, right? But does it help? You already spend the time, right? So what we suggest is if you find yourself in a place where you're not adding value or getting value, right? Because you also can add value in sessions. But if you find yourself where you're not adding value or getting value, then use the 2 feet that you have and take yourself to some place where you can get value, right? Or add value. So that's law of 2 feet. The only request is when you do get up and leave, just be respectful to the speakers and other people around you. Just kind of silently leave the room. And that's perfectly acceptable, right? Don't sit there and wait for the session to get over because you think it's impolite to get up. I think we've kind of making it clear that it's okay. Just make sure you don't disturb people. Okay? We'll do a quick check how many people will use the law of 2 feet. And this is always kind of tricky. When more people use law of 2 feet, have we sucked at the program? Or people are being more opportunistic and, making the most, right? So it's kind of this thing. All videos, all sessions, as you can see, are getting recorded, and they will go live on the YouTube channel, and it'll be freely available after the session. So that's one of the most frequently asked questions is, I've not figured out how to clone myself yet, and there are 4 parallel tracks, and I'm interested in more than 1 track, so what do I do, right? So my first response is that's a good problem to have. Right? If you came and said that I have 4 tracks, but none of them seem interesting, what do I do? Then we have a different problem. But usually people come and say, I want to attend more than 1 session, but I can't, right? So what do? Don't worry, all the sessions are getting video recorded, and you would be able to watch them after the conference, okay? There's some interviews already up there, but more will come in, and we will share an email with the links and stuff like that so you can find that, okay? Of course, this conference would not be possible without the amazing support of our sponsors, right? And it's not just the financial support, it's also when a sponsor comes along and says, you know what, I believe in what you're trying to do and I want to participate and I want to support the community. It gives a lot of encouragement to volunteers like us who are running this conference, right? So it's a great ecosystem that we are building, and that won't be possible without the amazing sponsors. So all of them are right outside, so please do visit them. They have some amazing goodies. Also, we have 2 community sponsors that do thank them. They're kind of out there. I think Mehdi kind of mentioned this earlier. We're going to be doing a book signing today and tomorrow, just to make sure that we have some distribution. And so we have Sam and Mehdi, both of them have written amazing books. And so we're going to give away books. 50 books each will be given away today, and another 50 will be given away tomorrow, right? So after this session is over, just grab a quick coffee, and then they will be there. You can just line up and then get a personal signed book from them, okay? So 50 books to be given away from each author. Right outside this, when you go out of these gates, you will see there are tables, so that's where the book signing will be, okay? There are some giveaways. I'm just highlighting one of the sponsors because, if I kind of talk about each sponsor, it's going to take 15 minutes, but I'm just highlighting one of them. Tomorrow, maybe we'll highlight somebody else. But there's some good giveaways, so do visit the booths. I think Mehdi talked about women in API, so we're going to have a lunch tomorrow. Typically they do breakfast, but trying to get people in Bangalore early for a breakfast has always been challenging. So we said instead we will pivot and we will do the India take on it, and so we will do a lunch. So if you've already signed up, that's great. We look forward to seeing you. If you've not signed up, you can go on the website where you registered and you can sign up for the Women in API. It's going to be a 1-hour kind of a workshop where we try and help people understand how, if you're a female, then how can you present at the conference, not just conferences, but even internally within your company, how can you have a better voice, right? Because we believe that's very important. But also, this is not just exclusively for women, because that would defeat the purpose. We also want to invite male allies, because they can then understand how they can support other people within their organization, right? So this is meant for both men and women. The name might make people feel that this is exclusively only women, but that would kind of defeat the point. Like I mentioned, we have a synth group performing here live in the evening, so it'll be 7 p.m. onwards while the dinner is being served. I quickly want to thank the program committee who helped us put this program together. So if you don't like any session, you know who to blame, right? Jokes apart, but these are the folks who worked with us and helped us curate and get the content ready. We have an amazing set of volunteers who are kind of helping organize and manage everything, I think right from your badges to managing each of the sessions, making sure they're all on time. These are the volunteers. Most of them you would be able to find around, so feel free. I think I'm pretty much done. We have 9 more minutes left, and Mehdi always likes to crack this joke. So here you're only allowed to use soap in the restrooms, right? But do use the soap.
It has been the same jokes for 13 years, right? So.
And soap is still around.
And soap, it's still around, right? No, if it doesn't work, if it's not broken, don't fix it, No? But if it's broken, fix it. Add more features, yeah. Yeah, I like it. Also, maybe just a last word, just to say, like India. I was in India like 6 years ago. I was meeting a lot of banks like HDFC, ICICI Bank, and Kotak Bank, and it was the open banking regulation coming in India, and so I've seen a lot of leadership on the API space, on distributed system, on the high performance systems, right? Also, internationally, the tech of India is known because of the Indian stack, right? Aadhaar base and everything. So just to say, India has a strong leadership that is maybe not well known enough internationally. So this conference is also maybe a start to create an Indian community of thought leaders give them more exposure, and also invite you to other conferences. And so like this, we have this back and forth about leadership. So India can export his leadership and learn from other leadership. And so we all grow together. So yeah, but like internationally, it's true that India has been mentioned many times in our conferences.
And no tariffs will be imposed.
Sorry?
When you export talent, no tariff will be.
No. I say export leadership, not talent, you know.
All right, I think with that, thank you very much. We hope you have a wonderful conference. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to start exactly at 11 o'clock. Go grab coffee, tea, restrooms right outside, and then book signing at 10:30. All right, thank you.